Hello, how are you doing? It's been quite an effort getting to this one, but nonetheless here we are, ready to go. Which one is it? Well, you already know. It's The Secret Garden. Yeah, this is one of the... Is this the first, other than Into the Unknown? Is this the first Aurora song that's written for adapted to suit a show? Maybe it is. Let me know. This one's quite different in some ways. Let's start with what we always start with, G Mixolydian. So it's just that last note, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, do, 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 G to F. That's the only one that's particularly weird here. Well, and its relationship to the major third. So technically our root chord in G Mixolydian is a dominant 7th chord, which we don't use very often, at least not in this music, not in Aurora's music. She doesn't use dominant 7ths very much, although we did have them regularly in the previous one, in Exist for Love. Are we going to go in the similar direction this time? I don't know. And then I've written B flat Aeolian here, but I don't mean that, I mean B flat Ionian. So, oh yeah, no, and also my touchpad mouse has stopped working and I cannot remember that half of the time. But yeah, B flat Ionian is actually what I mean. Now, this is a curious one because we actually have quite a significant change of notes between G Mixolydian and B flat Ionian. Okay, there's 2 notes which change. We get a B natural in G, and we get a B flat in the B flat, as you might expect. There's also an E flat, whereas there's an E in G Mixolydian. So we're going to both change from one place to another in terms of where feels like the home, and also we're going to change the mode that we're using. We're going to change which notes are part of the scale that we're using. So that's going to be quite a big change. I'm actually not sure we've had a single song like that in Aurora's back canon, apart from things like Wisdom Cries, which have, I suppose, Wisdom Cries and It Happened Quiet are the ones which have proper key changes in them. So those would be the ones to look for. But I think It Happened Quiet doesn't quite go as far as this. It's really the other ones which, Wisdom Cries, which is just operating on a totally different level to everything. So that's why that one gets away with it. But how does this one get away with it? Good question. We're also in 6/8, so we've got a da 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 kind of feel. And dotted crotchet equals 60. So this is really quite slow. If that's how fast each beat is, then we've got sort of subdivisions going da 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 da. But as we've come across in lots of previous Aurora songs, basically everything she's done in 6/8, we end up with a jauntier double rhythm, basically, which instead of ba 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 is going da 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 da. Is that going to come up here? Well, we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, let's jump in to the pool. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so we can see what's going on easier in this intro. Here we go. So what have we got going on there? Well, the main thing that unites the whole of that intro is this low G, ooh, which is quite quickly joined ooh, with a G up an octave, ooh, and those are there all the time. We also get 2 more Gs, which are up another 2 octaves shortly after. So this is really, clearly our home. There's no question about that being our resting pitch. Lots and lots of G across a big old string orchestra, it sounds like, doesn't it? Lots of strings making that kind of sound. We also get this A and C quite quickly at the beginning. That's the 2 and the 4 of the key. So they're not giving us an expected chord. Well, remember the previous album we were doing a lot of chords with a sus4 or a sus2. This is the 2 and the 4 at the same time. So no, well, actually they're not at the same time, they're kind of alternating. And then it kind of clears up as our harp joins in. And we get this kind of thing going on. 2 different lines, and they're just not quite in line with each other. Mostly they are, but then the next time they come, they're even less in line with each other. Yeah, so something like that. And then we get the same start, but then they basically form this timeless repetition, just getting faster, reaching a continuity point, and then slowing down eventually and stopping eventually, all just on the same set of notes. Now, despite there being 8 different pitches there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, there's only 5 notes. G, A and B are shared by both hands, and we have C in the lower part of the harp and the E in the higher part. They're also going in contrary motion. They're going towards each other, towards that midpoint. Now, they don't quite match up. It's not... In fact, the higher part is a lot faster than the lower part. Now, I couldn't work out the exact rhythm of this, but it's this kind of thing, right? So they don't match up very easily at all. They eventually stop at the same time, though. And yeah, that's giving us 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So we're strangely missing 5. We've had this D come up a little bit before. So it came up in the first iteration, and then it changed to C in the second one, and then from then on we didn't get that D except for just in that last chord. It just comes blaring through on some hard to distinguish instrument in the ether. But yeah, an interestingly different beginning to this one, more instrumental based. A fully acoustic ensemble, actually, I think. No electronics going on there. And yeah, it's not even done. That's not even the end of the intro. Let's see what else we've got going on in the intro. Oh, how shall I do it? Like that. Man. Yeah, so 8 bars. Depending on how you see this, because immediately we've got quite a fast rhythm in this piano part. So how I see this is it goes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, rather than you could think of it as 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, So then we're immediately into that jauntier rhythm here. It's slightly different because we get ba-da at the beginning, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, not da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so that second note is a little bit earlier than it would be in our classic one. But still, we're going very fast, and we have a changeover right in the middle of that set of 3, so on the sort of 2.5 moment, which is where we would split it if we were just doing 2 beats. Right? Or we could think da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And if we think that way, then everything's just off the beat in a more intense fashion. The other kind of weird thing is, because we don't have anything else to give context at this point, that bum da that we start with really feels like it's not the main beat. It sort of feels like this is going ba da 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 da. So we get that ba on the first beat, but 'tis not the case. That kind of will be clear with other stuff going on in this section, but not really. It becomes much more clear when the main vocal comes in at the beginning of the verse. That is really the moment where everything clears up. But yeah, what else have we got? We've got some high old stuff going on. Very complicated lines which fade in and out of the background here on the piano. Really high on the piano too, right up at the top. Well, that's a few keys more, I suppose. But yeah, that kind of tinkly bit of the piano where it sounds much sort of weaker and airier. It's an interesting texture, it's an interesting sound. Timbre, really. It's an interesting timbre. And we get a few vocals at this point. Simple enough line. And this main vocal, well, is it a main vocal? I don't know, but it's giving us a lot of those 3 notes. D, C, and B. Just a lot of those in different ways. And again, there's quite a muddy mix, and it's not clear exactly which voice is doing what at different times here, but I've done my best to make it clear what notes are going on at least. Oh no, my mouse! Wohin hat mein Maus gegangen? Das ist mein Maus. Okay. Is it still working? No. Oh man, the battery fell out. This is going well. Right, come on now. Which way around do you go? There we go. Come on, that's ridiculous. Man, I wish I hadn't lost the back. Go in and stay in. There we go. All right, don't drop it again. Some kind of mat would be good. Has anyone ever thought of a mat for mice like these? You could just sit on it and it won't fall off. Hopefully, or maybe I'll get one if they exist. I have a complete tangent. I have a Black Midi Hellfire vinyl slip disc, right? Slip mat. But I don't have a record player at the moment, so I was using that intermittently as a mouse mat. Anyway, this is one of our sus chords again. G, sus2. We've got the 5th, the 1, and the sus2 there. And that just sort of emerges. Lots and lots of swells and waxings and wanings, if you like. And then, yeah, just this kind of extra line. There's lots of intricate things. These kind of things. This is the first moment where we get our F, which is important for the song. Because that's our real Mixolydian note. Before that, we were quite comfortably sitting in a sort of major pentatonic, mostly with that C as well. So it says it's not a Lydian. It's not a Lydian mode, but it's either Mixolydian or Ionian, and most people would assume Ionian because it's so much more common. But then we get that F, and it says no, we're actually in a different place. Actually, I tell a lie. That's not the first time that's come up, because it comes up in the piano bit, doesn't it? So that's giving us very much a G kind of major, G and B with this 4 for a moment. But then the next bar, we get an F major chord. So it's G major to F major. And so that's a classic sort of major 1 to major 7 that you can quite easily get in only Mixolydian. It's quite indicative of that particular mode. Yeah, lovely. And then this happens the same way 3 times, and then we do that big jump up a 7th. So this actually plays every note of the scale except for that D again, and that D is the note that the vocals come in on as well. So yeah, there's an interesting interplay here that they're sort of avoiding each other in some ways, these two main parts. Also though, the piano does play a really high D at the beginning of when that comes in with the other hand. Yeah, we've just got lots of vocals layered over the top here. They're not doing anything very distinct, just making this kind of wall of sound. And from this first sus2 chord we get here, which is actually on the F chord, so that G sus2 doesn't sound like a G sus2 because it's not with this set of notes, it's with this set of notes. So it feels a bit like an extension of that F chord, and it would be a 6/9 chord or a 9/6 chord, depending on your persuasion. F, we've got F, A, C, 1 through 5, D is our 6, and then G is our 9. This is considered one of the most relaxing extended chords because none of these notes have any particular antagonists. It's a bit of a funny one because if we change that 6 to the flat 7, the same thing is also true, but now we have a bit more of an action on this chord. And it's hard to say exactly what causes that, but it's probably the relationship between the 3 and the 7, which is an augmented, a diminished fifth, quite an uncomfortable interval. We don't have one of those when it's on the 6th, so that's nice. If we change the 3rd, suddenly we do, and then it's a very different chord. Anyway, I'm getting a very diverted here, but that's what we've got. We've got this nice 6/9 chord. I think for the first time in Aurora's music, so nice to hear it. And then we have our verse, finally, after 44 seconds.
Where have you been hiding? You seem lost within your body and your mind. A beam of light can still remind you who you are.
Yeah. So, gosh, this is a really interesting rhythmic lattice. Just this one particular main part, and the piano is still doing its and that's a very regular rhythm, but a very syncopated rhythm. And regardless of whether we feel or we definitely feel the big beats in the same place. And then we get, where have you been hiding? You seem lost within your body and your mind. Just doing it with the big beats like that makes it clear how offbeat it is. There are so few notes that come on those big beats, and in fact they basically only do it in the middle of the bar. So we have one right at the beginning, where, which is very useful because it tells us that that low G is on the beat. But then where have you? You is on the beat. You've been hiding. You've been lost within your body and your mind. Right, so halfway through the bar, that's when we're really emphasizing that connection to the beat. But in the two halves of the bar, we're doing very different things. As you can see over here, we have, well, I could have written these as duplets, but I've written them as dotted quavers. Anyway, the point is they're not normal quavers here. We've got normal quavers over here. You've been high, 1, 2, 3. That's totally fine. But here it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So we have 2 on one side, 3 on the other. Fortunately, they don't equal the same. We don't have where have you been hiding? You seem lost within your body and your, which would be a 5/8 rhythm. I mean, I'm still waiting for it. If it happens in a new Aurora album, I'll be super happy. 5/8, very irregular. We get 6/8 instead, but the way that we can then work only having 5 notes in the bar is we have longer ones in the first half. Da, 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 da. So they're essentially equivalent to 3 semiquavers rather than 2 semiquavers in the second half. So it all equals 6 on either side. But one side is only 2 notes and then the other is 3. And this keeps going right up to the last phrase. So, where have you been? You seem lost with your body. With one caveat, which is that we always tie over the bar. You've been hiding. So we have that you've been hiding. That long note, which is always 5 semiquavers long. It feels so off kilter because we're changing meter basically halfway through the bar, and then we're going back, but we're giving nothing to indicate that we've gone back until the evidence that we've gone back appears, which is that second note. So there's this very strange relationship to rhythm. It feels super sort of floaty and light and hard to pin down. And then it keeps going, still remind you who you are. So that's the only interruption to that rhythm, where we don't go who you are, but we go who you are. So we go more towards the 2 side, even though we've got 3 notes. The rhythm that we're doing over them feels more 2E than 3E, if that makes sense. And then we get just this one in the background as well. Cool, just very cool. No notes are really off limits here, but we don't use the F. So we start on the B, so that gives us nice G major, all comfortable. 2, 3, 4, A and C. G, we get a bit higher. The D there, and then E at the top. E is quite nice because we hit the F chord there, so that's a big extended F chord like we're used to. Well, actually no, we're not. We're not used to Mixolydian mode at all, really. There's maybe 2 other songs which touch on Mixolydian significantly, In Boxes being the main one. And In Boxes doesn't use this chord, so this is really nice. But it's sort of like the equivalent to in a normal minor, this would be the 6 chord, but here it's the 7 chord. In a normal Aeolian mode, that is, it would be the 6 chord, and this is in Mixolydian the 7 chord. So it's like the ones that we get extended into a 9th chord or whatever in other Aurora songs, but here it's 7 chords, so it doesn't quite feel like the same chord, but it has a degree of the same relationship connecting across the different modes there. And it's interesting that Aurora has gravitated, maybe deliberately, but maybe just subconsciously, towards using that chord which is in the same place in the different modes using it in the same way, extending it when she doesn't do that to the other chords. I don't know, but it's an interesting connection to make. And then yeah, we come down after body and your mind, a beam of light. So it's same rhythm across all these phrases, but we keep the first one lower, second one higher, but it does a lot of the same shapes. And then the third one comes lower again, and it ends low as well. So instead of still remind you, we go still remind you, and that fits better, easier with the F chord. Who you are, just a quick G there, but interesting that it's G, not who you are, not going down to the F, but then that would be pretty low. And then we get that held G over the top. Ah, so that's the added 9, like I say, common with that particular chord. Okay, wounded.
Wounded by the world, your fragile nature needed shelter in the night. We made a sanctum out of mind and out of sight.
Very similar, very similar. A little bit of percussion coming in here, and the percussion is emphasizing threes, little threes, 3 semiquavers. So this gives us less of a 6/8 feel and more of a 12/16 feel, right? But I wasn't going to write it in 12/16. Yeah, I guess I could have written it in like 12/8 and made everything twice as long, but that would be bulky and unseemly. We get a big doo. It's mainly this G, but I think there is a little bit of that high G as well coming through, just holding and building through this section here. And we've got the same melody. It's the same. We have moments where it joins together where it didn't before. So for instance, wounded is off, whereas where have you been high all joins together, and then by the world cuts, whereas you've been hiding doesn't cut, and then your fragile nature needed shelter. So all of that is joined together. It's just a little bit longer, so I don't need to go through every single change like that, but the point is we've got the same melodic shape, the same melodic rhythm, but some of the notes are cut off earlier than others, which is not something that you might come across normally in Aurora, I suppose. This is a dedication to the rhythm and a dedication to the shape of the melody that doesn't is not a common connecting feature in Aurora's music, but here it does provide quite a strong signature, so I can understand why it's preserved. It makes a lot of sense. And the main thing here is we've got extra harmonies, occasionally 3, more 3 towards the end, but we do have wounded, wounded, wounded at the beginning there, nice triad, and then a mixture of thirds and fourths. Yeah, this is quite a fun moment where we go fragile nature with fragile me. I guess it does match the chord a little bit better, but we could have gone fragile nature, and maybe that would have been more lush even, but I guess that's not what we're aiming for. Quite a lot of fourths actually in the middle there. We go. Yeah, more than normal maybe. The most weird moment is, well, we get a fourths here for a moment. But then just after that, that's what we get. So that middle voice has a moment of an F sharp. Out of mind. There are a couple of these where it's like right on the edge. It could have been a G. Out of mind, but it's out of mind. Out it sounds like an F sharp, especially in this moment. There are a couple of other moments where it could be something. So we get this immediate shift between the two modes, because this F sharp would really suggest we're in Ionian mode. It's the F that gives us something else. So that's a brief moment of strange psychedelic noise there, but it doesn't colour a lot of what's going on here. Pre-chorus then. The pre-chorus is pretty fun. Let's hear it.
Won't you let me take you there? Won't you let me take you there? Let me take...
Yeah, still emphasising those threes in the drums. But the melody is much more like a threes thing here. 1, 2, 3. Won't you let me take you there? Won't you let me take you there? I guess take you there isn't really, is it? So never mind. It's reversed the order though. Now we've got 3 on the front of the bar and 2 on the other one. So let me is 1, 2, 3, and then take you there. But we don't get too much on the second bar at all. But then won't you let, really, I would say feels more like 3 as well. So the balance of 2s and 3s is way more changeable than it is in the other Aurora 6/8 songs. It's sort of really free with whether it feels like it's in 3s or in 2s, and I think that's very exciting. We don't have much going on in the accompaniment here. We just have these big strings that have come back in. Ooh. I don't think we got that. I didn't hear it this time, but we get a C major chord, which is chord 4 in this key. So we do get this big change straight away, and it's quite nice. Let me take you there, with an added 7 and 9 there as well. Really held 9 at the top of the chord. Oh, that's quite nice. And that's another of these lush major 7 chords, but that one would be essentially the equivalent of like the 1 in Ionian or the 3 in minor, and we don't tend to use that one so much in those modes. And then won't you let me take you? Now that also has the major 7 there, and the 9 just briefly, but not holding on. It's not won't you let me take you there? But what's more important about this chord is that it is an out of key chord. It uses E flats and B flats. What? Well, this is something we have come across before, and in fact we've come across it in boxes before, except I think it goes the other way around, doesn't it? No, it doesn't. That's not quite right, is it? How does it go? Ah, yes. Yeah, so there we have chord 4, chord flat 6, which is what this is. And then we went to chord 1, a minor chord 1 in boxes. So here we've got the same change, the same developing a stamina from having to speak so constantly. So it's 4 to flat 6, just like in the other one. A different key, but same movement. Do we then go to, well, it would be a G minor, is what we would expect from this. Do we? Let's have a look. I've lost my mouse. There it is. Let's go up to the melody, shall we? I'll zoom out a little bit. A lot to look at for those who are interested. Wow, I didn't know I could do that. I was actually just trying to zoom. There we go. Okay, top line.
Take you into the garden, into the garden.
Does that sound minor to you?
I'll be there, painting the flowers, give them color. I'll be there.
Oh, I don't even think I got. Yeah, sorry. In the opening. Man, I must be. I'm not feeling well. Just so you know, I feel quite ill at the moment, but I'm bearing through. This is quite late as a result of that. But yeah, we had that G sus2 at the beginning, which admittedly wasn't a G sus2 because it was on the F. Yeah, so now I know how I got distracted by that. We have another one at the end here, but that's not a G sus2. That's actually a C sus2. So it's like our 4 chord, but again, it's over the F, so it's adding the 6 and the 9. Okay, so we've got that in 2 different voicings there, and the same voicing as that second one comes up at the end here. At the end here, after I'll be there, we get those 3 notes building through. There isn't actually an F chord underneath that. You could maybe assume one, but otherwise we've just got, you could argue that's a G sus4 as well. Sus chords are sus chords because they are ambiguous. This way around, it sort of feels like C is the dominant one, especially if we put it in the bass like that. But what about this way around? Well, still with C in the bass, that feels like a C chord, but what about if it's got G in the bass? Suddenly, it feels quite different. So these chords are very suspect. They are very ambiguous. And their context is changed by almost anything getting added to them. So it's a fun way to leave a section and go into another section as well, because we can suddenly be like, huh? Oh yes, this next section has started now. So let's have a look at that change then. We went from E flat major, the flat 6 chord of our normal G major or G Mixolydian, and then we go straight back to G Mixolydian. So what have we got going on here? The main thing is, yeah, this riff. Which feels like the at peace, the utopian ideal of the same kind of thing that happened in the Seed. Right? That one happening in the Seed compared to doesn't it feel a whole lot more at peace? Sorry, I don't know quite why I have so much keyboard rattle coming in through today. Oh, it's probably because I have loads of stuff sat on the keyboard. I apologise anyway. But yeah, this feels so much more joyous, but it's using the same 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 up and 1, 2, 3 down. Same thing as the Seed, in it, you know, in terms of movement up and movement down, and I guess consistency across the beats as well. We've also just got a few long held chords. And we're back to our vamp from chord 1 to chord 7, chord 1 to chord 7, G major to F major. Yeah, it feels very different in terms of the sort of like epicness, doesn't it? I think partly this is the Mixolydian mode. It's partly that we've got 2 major chords and they're just going from one to the other. It's partly the rhythm, which is this jaunty, exciting thing. partly the texture as well, I would say, especially with this thing that comes in here. This glissandoing F to a G. Gosh, I cannot. There we go. Which goes on in the background, just slowly going from these two Fs up to those Gs to be nice and resolved. Not at the same time as the actual chord change though, because we go from G to F, then it comes in and it stays on F for a bit before it gets to G. Yeah, I don't know, it's nice. There's not too much to talk about there. Let's just talk about the melody, which is, I mean, it's a nice melody. A fair amount of word repetition, and it's kind of in an A and then another A. They do very similar things from the beginning section to the second section. Do, 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 do. Even that within the first section feels like a repetition. Take you, garden. Now, it's not the same interval, but it feels very, very similar, doesn't it? We have a little melisma. Garden. Yeah, and take you into the garden. We're quite free with the rhythm. It's not take you into the garden, which would be 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. It's not that. It's 1, 3, 1, 2, 3 instead. But then we do get garden, garden into the garden, right? So we do still have the twos later on in the repeated part, or the sequence that happened there. So what I'm saying is the rhythm's quite free, but it does have these strong characteristics that keep coming in. And then garden, that's a bit of Warrior. Can you remember the bridge for Warrior? Warrior does the same thing, just a little bit further and in a different key. Also, it actually comes up in Little Boy in the Grass, and I didn't recognise this similarity. Yeah, so it comes up at the end of Little Boy in the Grass, it comes up in the bridge of Warrior, and it's here as well in a slightly shorter version. Yeah, so went from into the gar, it sort of feels like it's going to do the beginning again. Let me take you into the gar, but then it does a different thing afterwards. So it sets up an expectation that then is challenged by something new happening. So that's fun. I'll be there, I'll be there. This is an interesting one. Again, going from 3 to 2. It's just a scale, but it goes from the flat 7, which is a special note of Mixolydian, to the major 3, which is a special note of Mixolydian. And this is the smallest set of notes you can do in the scale. Sorry, it's the smallest interval between 2 notes a fifth apart in the scale. That's such a stupid way of saying it. It's a diminished fifth interval. So you can't do that kind of thing anywhere else in the scale, and it won't sound nearly as exciting if you do it, for instance, here. That one really is a little bit more spicy than the others. I'll be there. So it has both the most exciting notes in the scale, and it has their semitone neighbours. So it's a really nice little thing, and it's so fast as well, it just gets out of the way. And then we get painting the flowers again, just like we did before, but now with an extra vocal. Flowers, give them car, give them car. There's an extra diminished fifth in the accompaniment there. Give them flower, Sorry, give them colour. So that da 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 also feels like I'll be there. It's just different, isn't it? It's not got so many notes to it. So we've got a lot of little things in this melody which goes by it really fast. Loads of little connections which are really nice. The harmonies, I would say, are less interesting, but we do get a good bit of fourths there, but then it suddenly disappears and I don't really know why, because we get colour, sorry, colour, just those on its own. Why? I don't know. But then we do get I'll be there on its own as well. Interesting for me, at least, that it changes from the B, which should be comfortable, it should be finished on the G major chord. It goes up to the C instead to match that C sus2 chord that then brings us into the second verse. Wow, I feel like I'm going on a bit, so I will try and pep this next section up.
Listen to the anthem, hear the flowers like their hymn has healing power. Take my hand and breathe in.
That's how I'm pepping it up.
Colorful.
Yeah, just the one verse this time. Same thing going on, but with more three harmonies here. So it's and then it goes to just two for a while, three again, four. Wow, four for a moment. Yeah, so that top one gets doubled. Yeah, and we correct the F sharp here. It's not breathing, it's breathing. Notably slightly different. So yeah, lovely, lots of triadic stuff there, going between, you know, several chords really, not trying to preserve the chord, because this healing powers could go, like it could go, what would it be? It's that middle voice. It could go, sorry, no, it's there, isn't it? It could go healing power, but it goes healing power. So adding that F in between the chords. So unlike quite a lot of songs by Aurora, which will go and they will keep the same two chords going across different voicings. This one has chosen not to do that and to preserve the shape of the voices together at certain points rather than the specific chord that it's sat on. That said, that healing is actually on an F chord, isn't it? And so adding the F back in sort of does make sense when we've not used it for the melody. So maybe that makes more sense, and maybe I have ruined my chance to not waffle here. Yeah, I mean, slightly different rhythm. We've got a bit more kick drum and things, and we've got a dum dum on the first two main beats as well. Not just that, but we've also got that in the strings. Now the strings are really peppy and aggressive. Oh yeah, and we actually do get two there, don't we? I thought I fixed that, but never mind. Oh, you know what? I think, oh no, I think there's going to be some things that I didn't save in this. Oh, please no. Oh, we might be okay. All right. Were there words up there? Yeah, interesting. Okay, maybe I just forgot to correct this in this section then. But it goes a 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 1, a 2, a 1, 2. So it's following the chords, but we get this ba 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 ba, giving us really explicitly the 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3. That change of meter between the two sides of the bar, it's really explicit there. We've also got a bass thing going on, bow, bow, really low, but that's very Very unimportant, but it is commonly there in this song. It just has a little bit of a movement. Something like that. It's almost not really easy to hear. In fact, it is not easy to hear what's going on with that one. But yeah, otherwise, very much a verse like the previous verses. It's just got that more intense rhythm to it, hasn't it? And what about then our pre-chorus?
Won't you let me take you there? Won't you let me take you there? Let me take.
So fairy queen-esque, this one. It's so epic. This particular change, yeah, really does feel super epic, doesn't it? So yeah, a bit of dancing around with swords and sandals for this one maybe. Melody is basically the same, but we get an extra harmony. Won't you let me take you there? And we also get an extra counter melody. Giving us our B flat really clearly. So that change of mode makes it into that part. Oh yeah, when it doesn't into the melody. Won't you let me take you there? So the main melody, as is really common in Aurora songs, avoids any chromatic notes. It just keeps to notes that will work in the standard standard mode that we're using. So that's pretty clever. Whereas that descending melody really milks the B flat and A relationship there, and it's also echoed in the strings an octave down, and they finish it off in the next part as well. The chords are slightly different. We've got lots more C to begin with here, and we've got more of a power chord there, but it's basically the same thing happening. And then what about our next bit?
Take you into the garden, into the garden. I'll be there, painting the flowers, give them color. I'll be there.
Well, we've got much more of a, it feels like 4/4 now, doesn't it, really? Just with triplet rhythms underneath. We've got that heavy bass drum just knocking each beat here now, with a thing going on every third beat as well. But let's not get bogged down in that. We've got this rhythm now. Jump, 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 jump. So that's interesting. We've got the heavy bass going on every 3 semiquavers, and this starts that way, jump, 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 but then it goes off afterwards. So we really have yeah, jump, 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 jump. No, I keep doing it wrong. Whatever. Da, 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 da. Right. So the point is, it's more of an actual cross rhythm now, but it only occurs in half the bar. So it's a little strange, a little flighty, and it's not very in your face as far as cross rhythms go. It's not like the triplets and the semiquavers in Hunger, which are much more, they don't match up. Whereas these ones do match up very sweetly, very straightforwardly for polyrhythms. And the melody is the same. We've just got constant harmonies this time. Constant harmonies, just 2 voices most of the time. Fun on I'll Be There. It doesn't follow all the way. We don't go I'll be there, but it stops when it gets to the G, our root note, which makes a lot of sense and leaves that turn around for the other parts. Then we get 3s after that. And we do get the full 4ths at the end there, which for some reason we didn't get the first time. And then the I'll Be There as well. This leads us into the next section, so let's have a look. there's a little bit of a on this la-di-da, la-di-da, this little extra harmony here. It feels almost like an F sharp, la-di-da, di-di-da, but it's not quite there for me. It just feels slightly rancid, slightly untuned. I don't think that's fundamentally a bad thing. It's almost unnoticeable anyway. Like, you have to be really specifically looking at the harmonies. Otherwise, it just sounds very, exciting, right? And it's at the same time as the highest part in our main melody here. We again repeat. I'll be there. But this time it's in das and yas. Yeah. So interesting repurposing of that part, and well, we have something that approximates it before. Same kind of thing, isn't it? Same rhythm, just different notes. It's going now from the C to the F and finishing on the G. They actually both finish on the G, so that's fun. And we get that twice. Offbeat as well, the offbeat finish. So it's da 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 da, right? Off the beat. So that's fun. That's the first time we've had something like that, I suppose. Oh no, it's not. I guess because we go, let me take, let me take. So take and into the gar comes in before the beat. So it really is very similar to the chorus melody, is using material from the chorus melody, specifically that I'll be there. It's using that in a different context. Oh, and in fact, I guess there is a slight difference, which is that starts on the second half of the bar, I'll be there, and then that lands on the first bar, first beat of the next bar. But this, we start on this one, we start on the first beat, and then we finish by the first beat of the next bar. So there's a bit of difference there, but there's a lot of similarity. The I'll be there's, for some reason we get these funny clashy harmonies to begin with before they clear up. One just goes I'll be there, and one goes I'll be there in perfect fifths with the main melody. So I guess that's why that one's there. Those ones sound very nice but very straightforward by themselves. Those sound more interesting by themselves, but having them all together just is a little bit of a clusterfuck. Yeah, lots of thirds. Here, lots of thirds, and we go into three voices right at the end. Yeah, and the main thing is that our main vocal is at the top now, so it's doing all of these high notes going up to D, which I'll be there puts it on the top, and then we have a big G at the end there, which for material that's in the main body of a song by Aurora, that's a high note for the main vocal to do. It might be the highest actually. I think, we've got in the chorus of Blackwater Lilies, we have a lot of F sharp, but we don't have G. We do have a higher note later on, but it's only one, and it's right at the end, so it sort of means less. Whereas this one, having a G as part of the main hook, and hook is going to come up again, as you can see down here. That's I guess special, and a brief bit of them not moving together on that top note as well, where this doo-doo-doo sort of comes underneath, and we get. No, we don't. We get that. Then they fit into some funny triads as well. This one has the F and the B in, so uncomfortable thing. More or less the same thing going on in the accompaniment here as before, but we've changed to snare, so it's a on the snare halfway through each bar. But we also have a little bit of ad-libbing, I think, by harp, just tucked in there. I mean, it's in its own octave. There's nothing really going on up there. So it sounds nice and it's unobtrusive, but it's just a little bit of extra stuff if you're interested. And then, what are we doing now? Got our G's back, haven't we? Not just our G's. Well, this is some scrumptious stuff. Okay, so yeah, we have a G being held for a long time here. And we've got two rhythms and two parts, both being played by the harp again, just like the beginning. This is our first one. Well, so this by itself is a little ambiguous, but it's giving us C. C is our lowest note with a really repetitive F and G above it. We keep that F and G, but we change the lowest note to E flat in this next bit. So is it that we're changing root note there? Well, no, we have a G underneath. But we are changing the feel of the harmony here. You know, when we were in the previous section, we had E naturals all the time. So this, having the F, this feels strangely sus, doesn't it? It's C sus4. Fortunately, over the top, we have that. Yeah, so that's giving us the E again. So that's a C major. It is a C major with an added 2 and 4. So a little bit dancey, not constantly feeling like C major, although we do definitely have a sustain on here, don't we? Huge reverbs. It's almost like this is a second chord that's going on here. Like it's C, G7, C, G7, sort of like that. But then we get that change, don't we? Oh, in fact, it's not constantly that. So we get the E flats in both hands. We went from the E in the top hand to E flat in both. And then it does change to F as well on the top. Lots of notes at the same time here. But the main ones are the C and the E going to the E flat. Okay, but then we keep C in that top hand. So really it feels like we're going from like a C major chord, complex C major chord, to a C minor chord with a little less C basis to it. So that could mimic the C major to the E flat chord. We just don't have the B flat in here, so it doesn't feel fully like that change. It feels a little more, I want to say feminine, but what I really mean is like soft. It's a softer change. And we have that G holding on between them as well, just rooting everything down. And then we get a G and a D down there as we change back. So that's a constant added ninth to that chord. And then to the next chord, which is a little scarier, a minor added ninth. Don't get too many of those. They have happened before in Aurora's music, but we don't get too many of them. Yeah, lovely stuff. And then after repeating that change twice, we don't go back to the C again, go from here. To B flat. Now doesn't that feel like somewhere new, somewhere exciting and somewhere calm? After this big change, complicated sounding stuff, it feels like a real release. Now, I wouldn't really often consider that as a new home because we've not approached it in a really clear way. We've not gone finished there. It's not a full chord. It's also quite far from where we were just a few minutes ago, so we may well keep evolving here, and we kind of do. After this, they're again moving now, by the way. At this point they're moving it in contrary motion, these two parts moving towards each other in the middle. What I've written as the one chord here actually, which is a G minor. So maybe that to you feels more comfortable, I don't know. But yeah, we have the B flat, G minor. Well, G is our root in the previous bit, isn't it? And then finally we come back to something recognizable from our last key, which is the F, so the 7 chord, and then some kind of lost jump up here, but we go from that F down to another E flat chord before moving off somewhere else. Well, the E flat chord so far, when it's happened, and it is a proper E flat chord here, it has always taken us back to G major. So bear that in mind. We've got some strings as well, just giving us some lower versions of these harmonies, giving us really explicitly that C in the B flat chord. So that's the added 9th there, but not giving us some explicitly in the G minor chord. So it's just in that harp part. And then they sort of disappear for the end there as whoosh, the drums start shimmering and being loud. Yeah, what then is going on? Well, just before I cover what's going on in these vocals, let's just go over that harmonic change then. We went from C major kind of thing to a C minor kind of thing, still with G in the bass, back to C major but with an added 9th, which we keep into the next C minor, and then all that disappears to G, the B, and we get that lower harmony, G minor, and then F, E flat, and what's important is that we suddenly change the harmonic rhythm as well. We changed from F to E flat over 1 bar instead of over 2 bars. It was for the others 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going straight to that chord, speeding up the harmonic rhythm and therefore taking us unawares into the next section. But a little less about the next section before we cover these O's. They're not very interesting, but we've got oh, and those carry on for ages over these, this C major, and they're giving us that classic 2, 2, 4, 2, 4 in the more 4/4 feeling thing, or 12/8 feeling thing, or 12/16 feeling thing. But then we have also these triads over the top. So when we get to this second, is it there? Let's just check that. Yeah. So getting out of the C minor kind of place, we get this G minor triad. So which is like a minor 9, proper minor 9 chord there. That brings that minor 9 down. Oh, but gives us a C major. And that the presence of that B flat is really interesting. It's not there for the whole bar, is it? Does it make it feel more like an E flat? No, it doesn't. It makes it more feel like an extended C minor, like a C minor 9, which then is also extended as we change the E back to, E flat back to an E. And this gives us more of a dominant 9 feel. Can you hear the difference there? I love a dominant 9 sound. So does Debussy. If you like the sound of that, listen to more Debussy. You'll come across them all the damn time. But yeah, so that B flat still being there is just absolutely incredibly juicy and an unusual resonance for an Aurora song. And it also tells us that we're absolutely not back in the G major where we were before, because we've got that B flat constantly now. It's not just when we've got the E flat, but it's also when we've got the E natural. Yeah, so this kind of feels like just moving down triads, but then this one is a little spoiled, I think. And this is when we get down to our B flat major. So we already had the C added, the 9 added there. We also add the 7 on the top here in both of these vocal parts. It's in the there, and it's also in the as well. So this is a really lush old section, isn't it? We're getting extended chords all the time. And that's another major 9 chord, like we've come across in various different places, but here it feels like it's that at home place, like we were saying, a little more than the other chords. And there's not many that have that major 7 feel, although Exist for Love was one just recently. But we quite quickly get out of that, don't we? Because we get to the G minor, still with that A on the top, and then to the F. Interestingly, here we get a B flat and one of these added, so that's an added 11th and a 13th, the D. So, well, that doesn't feel like as comfortable a chord. Strange relationship there between the A and the B flat, and then that falls down to the E flat. Oh, actually, are we quite there? No, that happens halfway through the G. That makes a bit more sense. So we get, it does, yeah, no, in fact, that's all over the G. So we don't, we don't have that in the vocals over the G, we just have it in the B flat. It changes when we get to the G. That makes a lot of sense. And yeah, that F therefore sounds surprisingly simple in comparison to everything around it. We do have a quick G happening in the heart part there fairly regularly, but it's simple in comparison to the extended chords that have come before it. And then we, even after it, we get this D giving us an E flat major 7 there as well, so that's a new one. Beautiful, beautiful harmony. Actually, it's not a new one, because in the second pre-chorus we had, so we had a moment there of the major 7 there as well. Yeah, lush, gorgeous stuff. And again, it takes us from the E flat to the G major, and then we're into the final chorus. Let's hear it.
Take you into the garden, into the garden.
Can hear that piccolo?
I'll be there, painting the flowers.
Could be a normal flute, to be honest. Okay, lots of similar stuff here to normal. We're back on the snare. We've still got that going on. We've got the bass. We've got lower strings. We do still have the jump, 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 jump. We have, yeah, this coming through from a flute or a piccolo. Probably a flute, to be honest, because a piccolo is normally a lot more piercing than that. But it's coming through, a little extra on the ensemble here. And we've got, oh yeah, in fact this isn't strings, this is brass, I think, making this lower sound here. Yeah, boom, 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 boom. It might be a mixture actually. I think it's brass in the middle, boom, 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 giving us that slow melody. We don't have the doo-doo-boo-boo-boo-boo here, which is a shame, but it sort of leaves a bit more space maybe for this higher harmony. So we get take you into the garden, into the garden. So we get that higher harmony, which is just an octave of the lower one. So we get like that. And then, yeah. This time though, painting the flowers, not into the garden. So we do a slightly different thing there, but actually it does that in the harmony as well. We're missing out that voice in the middle that we had on Painting the Flowers the previous time, until the end of Flowers, which is a bit of a weird thing, and then it disappears again. At least this is what I've heard. Yeah, and then instead of getting the parallel fourths on color, they actually divert. So from they just, both voices just go up to a D and stay there while the other one moves. Is this important? I don't know. It's just a nice change. And then we get much cleaner harmonies on I'll Be There here as well.
I'll be there.
Lots of G being held through this part. So even though we're changing to the F, sometimes we've got G just being constantly held in that octave as well. Though interestingly, I've not written that in. Nonetheless, it's there. Yeah, so we get these kind of interesting chords towards the end. Yeah, so that's on. So we've got dum, dum, and both of those notes stay put as it shifts down to the F as well. So that A starts not in the chord, or starts as the added ninth, whereas the D is nice and comfortable as the fifth, and then the D becomes the added sixth with the added ninth. So again, the 6-9 chord coming up here. We've got a little more harp ad-lib doing similar things towards the end, but different things at the beginning. And then, yeah, the main thing is thicker harmonies here. So again, we get I'll be there with I'll be there over the top. I'll be there, doing the octave lower. So that makes sense. And then another voice comes in there, just through the middle. So again, 4-part harmony here. Something like that. Yeah. And ending with fourths there. Yeah, it's really fun hearing the whole chord sort of tumbling down and then 2 parts staying put. It is a curious sound. Yeah, some bits sound like literally nicer than other bits. It's after this section though that things really take a turn for the unexpected. Let's hear it.
Try to heal the heart of mine in the garden. We
Yeah, well, that's a new bit, isn't it? We're still saying garden, but and we're still in the same key, I guess. And we're still doing block chords moving, but we've changed tempo. So if at the beginning we were in dotted crotchet equals 60, and now as I've written it, we're in dotted quaver equals 82. Well, that's not an easy conversion, is it? Well, dotted quaver is half as long as a dotted crotchet, so dotted crotchet equals 60 means dotted quaver equals 120. So then this is dotted quaver equals 82, which is slower. So we were going, and now we're slower. Well, 82 is very close to 80, and 120 and 80 can both be divided by 40, and then we end up with 3 and 2. This is really interesting because this means that there's actually a very close conversion here, which I think is probably what is intended. Well, I'm not sure it's entirely at 82, it might be at 80, but so if I've got my maths right, if you're going at 120, that means quavers happen. You get 3 quavers for every 2 quavers at 80. So this means when you've done 6, there's at 120, there's 4 at 80. So that means that a bar of 4 dotted quavers, like we have here, is the same length as a bar of 6 dotted quavers would be in the previous thing. So essentially 1 bar now is 1.5 bars before, or 2 bars now is the same as 3 bars would be here. So this whole bit, which is basically, well, it's like 5.5 bars long, but let's say 6 bars long, that would be the equivalent of, oh man, come on, you can do this. 9 bars at the other tempo. So, oh well, okay, let's call it 5.5. That's basically 8 bars of section. But instead of doing it as a standard 8 bars, we've changed the meter, we've changed the tempo. I guess we kind of haven't changed the meter, although because it's we can do a conversion between the two, we kind of have. I'm overcomplicating here, but basically this means that there is a relationship between this section and the previous section. It's not just a sudden tempo change. There is a close relationship between the speeds of the two. And da 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 da. It's very simple, and it's just block chords moving down halfway through. We add a lower harmony as well. And yeah, it repeats the same thing 4 times, but the second and the fourth have this this moment of truncation in the final bit. In the garden, pause, we find, and then we find is nice and fast rather than heart of mind. And then we get inside at the end, which is doing the same thing but jumping rather than moving by step. So we get that inside, and we interestingly end on an A minor chord, which is a chord we haven't had throughout the rest of the song. So yeah, that's surprising. It's chord 2 of the key. Slightly sour note. You could maybe see it as an F chord that we're ending on, because we get, so in the echo there is that F there, even though no one's singing it at the end. But yeah, slightly unusual way to end. As well as that new thing that we've got there, we've got something like this in the harp. And I'm not entirely sure this is exactly what it is, but what I can hear is something like this. Now, these have 4s next to them, don't they? That's because these are quadruplets. which fit in the same time as 3 normal semiquavers in this section, which I'm not going to be able to play, sing and play at the same time, but it's try to feel the bottom line, try to feel the bottom line, and the darkness we find. It doesn't go all the way, but yeah, giving us sort of a G7 chord with an C in the middle. It's quite on, it's surprisingly active sounding and aggressive sounding, but it is still in the background and it doesn't have a lot of weight to it. But yeah, you can hear it constantly flurrying behind the relatively stately vocals. And that's really all there's going on. There's these high notes as well, giving us, what are they? Yeah, giving us an A and a C, maybe heralding the fact that we're ending on an A minor chord, because they're not in that G chord at all. But yeah, really offbeat ending, sudden switch. I don't know if this was specifically added to this song for the show or what, but it's a really interesting coda, very, very different to the rest of the piece, but nonetheless with some of the identifying factors. And I guess this sort of feels like sort of feels like that, but it's not quite the same. It doesn't go down as low, and it's in a different part of the harmony. Wowee, well, a strange one then, but I'm pretty fond of this one. I think it's really inventive. I don't know many songs like it. It does have a relatively simple harmonic movement at the heart of most of the sections, but then it does have some really nice other parts, doesn't it? Instrumentation's an interesting one because I feel like we do miss the synth to some degree. At the same time though, it's pretty nice stonking, well, maybe not full actual orchestral instrumentation, but it gives the impression of orchestral instrumentation that's actually played, especially the harp. The harp sounds really nice. So I think we can put it, where can we put it? I think we'll put it higher than Apple Tree. Yeah, I think there's an argument for it going higher than All This Soft Inside as well, but I'm not going to make that. Oh, sorry, Apple Tree, you've lost your E. Let's try and keep these in line, shall we? Or something like it. Texture. The texture's not as exciting as the instrumentation, really. We don't ever feel any deep lows. We also don't have that much going on in the top part. There's a few nice little bits of piano. So Forgotten Love, it's beating that to some degree, I would say, but it's not much further. Yeah, let's put it higher than Animal. Are we going to put it higher than Hunger? No, I think Hunger has more interesting things going on in the texture. So, arguably Animal does as well. No, yeah, let's keep it below those guys, just above Forgotten Love. Yeah, the new mouse really showing its struggles here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something new. I'm going to make this slightly bigger this way so that it still fits in the 9. That doesn't really make sense, but it's close enough. So structure, the bridge really feels long and winding here, doesn't it? Unusual shaped bridge. Really feels like a detour or a development section from a sonata. As well as that, we have this big long intro with a couple of different sections to it. The main part of the song is not that much, but we do then have that strange coda as well. So I think yeah, hang on, why has it happened quiet on it? That's a weird one to have in structure. What does it has a nice switch around at the end. But yeah, I think actually I'm going to do on the fly, we're going to raise Through the Eyes of a Child up and get rid of It Happened Quiet, because I know Through the Eyes of a Child has a really good I guess maybe it's because of the extravagance of the verse in It Happened Quiet, but I think that's not reason enough for it to have a good structure or an exciting structure. And then we're going to put it, it's a difficult one, but actually the rest are pretty strong in this. Under the Water, I think, does have a better structure than this, although it's not as exciting. No, all right, yeah, I'm gonna move Under the Water down. Blackwater Lilies arguably should go down, but the coda is more extremely different to the song, so that's where we're going. Harmony, it's one of the best in harmony. It really has a big deviation in the bridge. It has a strong use of an out of key chord. I don't know why I keep struggling with that. I think it probably actually goes third. I think All Is Soft Inside is so strong for having so many different variations of the same mode, and yeah, especially just giving the C sharp at the end. Okay, so Sorry Exists for Love. Home is getting very close to dropping off. Yeah, I think that's where we're going. And melody, I think the melody is bloody great as well. The melody's good, isn't it? It's well structured, it sounds really exciting. It has a good, I would say, it builds really nicely from the verse through the pre-chorus into the chorus as well, and then it keeps building out of that into the post-chorus hook as well. And it's just that last coda that lets it down a little bit. But I think we are we better than Exist for Love? I think. Gosh, I kind of want to, but no, I think it's a little more. It feels like a song written a little bit earlier by Aurora, this one. And I think that's borne out in the slightly immature melody, maybe, but it's still very well made. And so I think, yeah, let's put it above The Seed. That seems maybe a little bit heresy as well, but that's what we're doing. Yeah, I think that's okay. It's sort of on par with The River in some ways, but I think it's less uninteresting than The River. The River has a couple of sections which are not as interesting. And then rhythm is a really, really high contender as well. Wow, it's a full house. We've got one for every single category, which is really impressive. Have we got any other song that's doing that now? All Is Soft Inside isn't doing it. No, The Seed doesn't have it. Hunger doesn't have it. Imagine if it was just Hunger. Yeah, I think it might be the only one. Under the Water doesn't have harmony or melody. Under the Water's getting too low for my money here. So it doesn't have the flighty craziness of Queendom, but it does have a metrical modulation at the end, a proper one, and not just going from 2s to 3s. Gosh, I think we have to be higher than The Seed. I think we have to be higher than Soulless Creatures. No, we don't. Soulless Creatures is definitely doing more than that. I think we have to be higher than Queendom. So there we are. Oh, and there we go. Okay, yeah, no, Murder Song doesn't have half of the categories these days. So let's just move those guys down. And there we are. All right. Filling in. And no doubt has to be green of some description. Let's make a new green. Let's make it slightly more yellowy. So it's like spring onion. Something like that. And then brush. Now, it's called, oh, come on now, The Secret Garden. So I'm going to put it in as 3 words. The Secret Garden. TSG sounds like a psychedelic. I think that's very appropriate for the song. That kind of looks like T5G now, doesn't it? All right, so controversial time. You might be expecting Cure for me next, but we're actually going to have Stjärna stuff again. And I think this is going to be a really good moment to see what is essentially the main purpose of doing all this. It's a very long-winded way of showing how different composers approach music and what different options there are. Aurora has her ways, and let's not put it all at Aurora's feet as well. You know, let's definitely say that Odd Martin, Magnus, and various other people no doubt have a big sway over what goes on in Aurora's music. But the thing about Stjärna stuff is that it has different composers. It doesn't have Aurora as a composer. So even though it doesn't, I think that it's a really good opportunity to see how that impacts what music Aurora sings over. There are differences that we know of. Structurally, for instance, it ends on a verse. That's super rare for Aurora's music. I can't think of another one that does that right now. There might be one, but it's super rare. And we know it uses a hard anger fiddle, so that's pretty rare. It also just has this much more new age feel, like properly Enya coded instrumentation and chorusy sound of everything. But how is it going to be borne out in the melody and harmony? We will see next time. Have a great night, and in fact it'll be the same day that I release that, because things have been so hectic and I've been ill. But anyway, yeah, have a great day and a great life, and bye 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 bye.